Okay, so now we're heading into some pretty aggressive subject matter that, wow, some will take offense to because they're in these fields of study that to them it's a health thing, it's a spiritual thing, it's their religion, it's their identity. And I can't help that that's what you've adopted, you've identified with. I mean, I'm not targeting anyone specifically because you don't do that. You can argue concepts, you can argue religions, you can argue a lot of different things, but I do not go and actually target specific people because there's a lot of people that would take on certain characteristics and religions and belief systems and lifestyles. And they would take offense to it because they think they're the only one and I'm targeting them. No, here's the thing. My intention is to give you information so you have something to work with. I'm not saying you should give up everything that you've ever known and completely, cold turkey, throw everything away that you've ever known. No, it's all a transition process. And how do you evolve your own belief systems so that you can still have them, but how do you survive them? And maybe change a few things so you can survive even your own belief systems. That's all I'm doing, is introducing a way for you to survive your own beliefs, your own lifestyle, everything. Okay? And it's been very aggressive this last weekend. I noticed that yesterday in the morning, I walked past, well, actually I didn't even walk past it. I was in the kitchen and I heard something fall from that desk that a couple years ago, when my husband walked by, a book fell. And I'm like, oh, he didn't hit the desk to the point where the book fell. No, that desk holds some kind of spiritual entity that when the frequencies are just right, it lets me know it's there. Because we have furniture from people who have passed away. And so I'm sure their spirit is somewhere attached to these things. And, I'm not going to get rid of it. I'll just deal with it. But yesterday or the day before, the light bulbs in their cartons just fell from and tumbled down the roll-off desk. And I'm just like, whoa. And last night, after a big weekend, and I've taken on a few demons because I sat in a restaurant for about an hour. I was in a highly influential environment full of testosterone, because sometimes some places that are more of a man's world than they are a woman's world, you be getting all those demons coming at you and you'll incubate them, or I incubated them. And so, yeah, this weekend I needed to take a nap. Even yesterday, I had to take a nap and eat a bunch of food. And then last night, because my husband left, actually, he came home and then he left yesterday. And so that's last night, like this morning, it was a bit painful releasing and having my immune system push those microbes throughout my body to get it to the proper places. And so that's when I was focusing on the demons and angels, demonology. About that movie, remember with Tom Hanks, Demons and Angels? Okay, and it's all interchangeable. And you can't be like, oh, well, that person's a demon, that person's the angel, because there's no way you can say that you're the angel and they're the demon, because you could be the demon to them and they're the angel. And so angels and demons, antigen and antibody, are like the whole as above, so below. I was even watching the Stranger Things last night to watch it again through a different lens when you think about it. Because I watched that a couple years ago. And then I was also watching Andy and Me, or Jim and Andy or something, where Jim Carrey is playing Andy Kaufman, an old 1970s, 1980s comedian. And Jim Carrey was channeling Andy Kaufman to the point where he even looked like him. And that's a lot of actors in Hollywood, method actors or actors and actresses. Either they're programmed for a specific part, And they're either really obese, and so they have a lot of the diverse energy inside, giving them fuel for their skits and all that, and aggressive behaviors. And sometimes they're really skinny because they are programmed for a specific part. And then sometimes they are also an open vessel where they take on so many different personas. They have a wide range. Those that have a wide range in the acting world, yeah, they're taking on so many different demons, spirits, angels, whatever you want to call them. And so Hollywood is all about cultivating the spirits and the angels and the demons and developing a whole modality around that as far as entertainment. And it's a trip. And so knowing what I was fighting the last 3 years, the angels and the demons really, because I remember how some of these demons within took me down for at least a week, and it took me a month to finally release those demons. I mean, I know what we're up against, and I know when I'm around diverse company, when I have an immune system reaction, I know now what it means. I'm taking on microbes and entities that are so diverse, competing for resources. That's why people get cancer carved out of them. That's why they have babies taken out of them. Of course, you can't incubate a baby forever, 9 months, or that baby will destroy you and you'll destroy the baby, one of the two. But it's about competition for resources. That's basically what it's going on. Is like in the family, you have the family competing for resources, not only within their body, but also in the household. You have employees competing for resources, competition. You have communities, people in communities competing for resources. But what is so deceptive is that you don't see the fight, the bloody war within until it comes to surface, and then you can't get ahead of it. But people are also incubating competition in their body, competing for resources. Sometimes it turns into growths, autoimmune disorders, cancers. Okay? Sometimes it turns into deadly behaviors, domestic violence, turns into children. Okay? So demonology, it's occultic, yes. People play with each other's demons. That's what the whole holistic world, yes, the yoga world, the meditation, all the different modalities of Reiki and psychotherapy, therapy, psychology, psychiatry. It's how do you manage the demons within people so they're not destructive? How do you turn them into angels where they're more peaceful than not? You got to have a little bit of dark in you so you understand and recognize darkness so you can protect yourself. But too much darkness, you can destroy yourself and other people. Too much light, you'll be blinded. Be like, oh, everything's love and light. And then you get destroyed by yourself and other people. And so, yeah, it takes life experience to understand the angels and demons out there. And again, you can't be like, well, I'm an angel and they're the demon, because they would say the same thing about you. You're the demon to them and they're the angel to you and all this other stuff. And so then you have to have enough life experience to understand what you're up against. That's why those, as far as the Kabbalah and some of the mysticism out there, you can't be of a certain age. You have to be of a certain age to be able to practice it or to study it, because you'd have to have life experience to understand what these demons do and how they manifest. And sometimes it takes PhD grads and biologists and demonologists and religious people and all that to understand how they all interconnect. I mean, the Vatican understands how both those worlds interconnect. And then you have all the offshoot religions where everything's all allegory, but they never bring in science and biology. I mean, when you don't understand science and biology and physics attached to the allegory, like the Bible and all the demon and angel type of stuff, you're leaving yourself so blind to another world that you're actually in that you don't even see, because it's at the micro level. And then all the deception, the love and light and the kindness and all the beauty and the hormone manipulation is the deception of what then caused people to be attracted to each other. And then they're fighting at the micro level, fight to the death. It's a bloody war. And it is a bloody war. We're watching it right now. Watch it on Facebook at least, right? And so angels and demons, antigen and antibody, as above, so below, the snake eating its tail. People are literally being eaten alive from the inside out. And they keep taking on more demons. Look at all your friends and family out there hanging out with each other, going to concerts, going to shows, hanging out with a diverse company. Don't they realize that this environment is so aggressive, so influential, that people's demons are on the move and they're getting into your body? Just me walking into a showroom full of testosterone, I knew what I had to be releasing. It. I was like, oh my God, I knew that was going to be a bitch to release. Okay? My husband, I can manage his microbes, but then I'm taking on diverse companies' microbes. Not so much literally like body to body, but you're breathing in the thick ectoplasm. That is influential. People will say they walk into Target and they got some kind of infection. And they didn't even touch anyone. They touched items. But people have gone shopping before and they never got sick. But in this environment, going into any diverse environment is risking your life. If you're that sensitive and if you're that overridden by parasitic energies, not like parasites, but parasitic energies, entities, demons, spirits. Oh my gosh. Some people don't learn their lessons. I guess they will find out the hard way. So when I'm saying that, as far as demons, how now I realize that even in the J world, even with my methodology that I have in my book, where I'm pulling out the fucking demon because first of all, I'm mature enough to understand this, but second of all, I have the weight to me to convert back and forth. It's when you're so skinny, you don't have that reserves to be able to fall back on while you're releasing that demon and still needing the strength to get up and pee and poo and eat food and let your dog out if you need to, or do what you have to do to survive and maintain status quo. And so when there's kids between 1 and 30, when you're a kid, you are the demon. When you're a child, you are an offspring of somebody else's demons. And I'm not saying they're bad. They could be an angel. Hey, you call it what you like. But children are the offspring of all those antigen antibody, offspring of the antigen antibody programming that developed. First it was a cold or a sickness. Then it became some kind of weird disease. And then it became something like a child. And then you trigger sexual reproduction. And now that child is representation of the demons within, or angels, whatever you want to call them. And so then that's a demon that is programmed in a specific way, like Imhotep. He was programmed in math and science and chemistry, and he learned so many things, architecture. He was the first physician and all that. And so then he passed away before he was 20 because he couldn't survive that demon within that was conjured up and developed by his parents or by his programmers. And so that's why between 1 and 30, people are in their world that they think is normal, and you can't tell them it's not normal. So you watch these kids, they're born, and they're programmed into the society that they're in, and they're programmed to go to school, they're programmed to do something, they get tested to see if they have an aptitude for science and math and reading or acting or anything else, or they get human trafficked because they were never programmed for anything, and then they acted out their hormonal influences because of all the TV and movies and watching mom and dad. And then we have these kids out there that are being used for things that they shouldn't be, but again, they weren't programmed for anything specific. And then when disease sets in, when you actually, if they were lucky enough to get disease, lucky enough to know that there is another presence within, okay, that they actually have a chance to reprogram themselves and release those demons, if they even understand what that means. Maybe they may have a chance to save themselves and not be eaten alive from the inside from that demon that was forced into them as a child, as a young adult. So that's why 1 through 30 is so important for the system to program the children, because you're going to have to pay your dues coming into society for free. You have to go to school. You have to abide by the law. You have to do the things that they want you to do. So you are a contributing member of society. And so you have to be programmed in a specific way. And then what happens is then people start realizing that they have another entity that's also inside of them, that they're fighting. They're starving, they're fighting, they're cutting out, they're remedying, they're self-medicating. And sometimes a lot of diagnosable conditions happen around 30, especially those who are heavily programmed with specific blood types. And so 1 through 30, you're acting out the demons forced into you as a child. That's why you can't really talk to children, because they're run by the demons. And they may not survive them. That's the thing. You have to expect that these kids who are basically the demon, until they realize that they have a choice in the matter, but you can't make that choice for them, you hope they survive whatever they were born into. You hope they survive their own immune system. But as you know, people use the medical holistic system on their kids, and their kids are now in more deficit. And they've had operations and things that cause them not to utilize their immune system properly. And so they're kind of like an open book, and things are coming in and they're not releasing, and they're not eating properly because food is poison to them or food is painful. And so you just hope that they have a good life, whatever it is. And so between 30 and 50, you start becoming aware that you're fighting a demon within. This is when people start breaking down and getting disease and pain, and of course turning to remedies, which makes the demon even worse. And that's why I knew the cannabis industry had a hand and was part of the depopulation agenda, because that was how people try to calm down their demons, but then in the process develop new ones. I mean, what are you going to do? So that's why the Hayflick limit, 50. The Hayflick limit is then the somatic cells that are not immortal, not the immortal germline cells, but the somatic cells can redouble itself 50 times over. And then if you don't have the reserves of other immortal germline cells to take the place of those somatic cells, then that's why you have the aging process. Okay? That's why things start really going aggressively fast, breaking down, and yeah, even menopause. The menopause isn't exactly bad. It means that now you're not being used as a farm animal anymore to make babies for people. You're not there to go and populate the planet in your community. Menopause is a great thing if you understand what it is, not fight against it. I haven't, again, had my period since early fall, late summer. And we're in now, what, middle of January? Fall was like back in September when the Burning Man was going on. And so 50 plus, you either save yourself or that demon will destroy you. Right now, people are destroying themselves and helping others to destroy each other. And that's why AARP is chasing after people, and people are thinking about retirement. They're thinking about other things. They're heavily on their medications, all these surgeries. I mean, that's the thing. 50 plus is a turning point. And some humans will actually self-destruct while others realize that they don't have to die at 50. I mean, or destroy themselves. And so, and that, I mean, I'm telling you, when I realized that, when I found the Hayflick limit, and I found that, when I researched that because of other research that I was doing, that was the clincher. That's why he was given all those awards and prizes and stuff, because his findings matched with the biological clock that people are under. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And so demonology, what is that? Summary, literally, demonology is a science of demons and their actions. The word daemon is Greek, like mailer demon that you get in Yahoo when your email bounces back. That's interesting how they call it mailer demons, right? And so it's Greek and simply means a supernatural being or a lesser divinity. In classical ancient Greece, daemons were perceived as guardian spirits, or either good or evil spirits who try to influence the human psyche. So when you have these cedars and these little devils and gargoyles, they're not necessarily satanic, they're also protectors. You have a bit of darkness within to protect yourself from those who are darker than you, as far as evil and destructiveness, so you can save yourself. That's your adrenal gland saying fight or flight. If you're backed into a corner, you fight. If you're not backed in a corner, you flight, you run away. I don't put myself in places where I know I can't win. Okay? And so, however, in Christian theology, demons were always considered evil, whereas angels were thought to serve as God's messengers or agents. Since the evil spirits were conceived as being masters of deception, the elaborate procedure of evaluation, the discernment of spirits, discretion, spirituum, was deemed necessary. This produced a science of angels, angelology, distinct from demonology. Theologically, demonology was based upon numerous references in the Bible, both in the ancient Jewish tradition and in the New Testament. A belief in spirit beings were fairly universal, as was a belief in related phenomena such as inspiration, spirit possession, and the struggle against possession by exorcism, and then exorcise, right? Exorcise. And so archaic religious systems such as shamanism were based on communication with spirits or spirit helpers. Inspiration was an important aspect of Christianity, and still is, as the Feast of Pentecost indicates. To the dismay of the authorities, indigenous prophets continued to emerge from all corners of Europe, and various forms of spiritualism and prophecy remained part of the European everyday life. Between 1500 and 1660, the medieval concept of demonology remained largely intact. It was shaped by St. Augustine, 354 to 430, ideas that interactions between demons and humans were based on a contract, either explicit or implicit. This assumption was inspired by Roman law, which viewed contracts as being mutually binding agreements. When you invite someone in your house, when you sign on the dotted line, when you make a verbal declaration for something, to something, about something, that's why you be very careful what you say to people, what you say to yourself, what you say to your children, what you say to the world. And sometimes it requires you looking back on what you said, even record yourself, and you'd be like, whoa, I'll tell you, people make contracts with the devil and the demons every single day, and they don't even know it because they're not aware of it. And so, yeah, demonology is about contracts with yourself, contracts with others. What kind of relationship are you getting into? Who are you getting to bed with? Who do you surround yourself with? What do you surround yourself with? Do you know what you're walking into? Are you even aware? And I'll tell you, when you're cured, you're not aware. When you're under the influence, you're not aware. You might think you are, but you don't realize that your chakras, your alimentary canal, this whole thing that people play with all the time, and even do surgical things to bypass this thing, that is the portal to your unawareness, because it's all blocked up full of demons and so what have you. Or it's been mangled through surgeries, through injuries. Even when having children can mangle your actual chakra, your spirit. Because those kids are sucking the life out of you, and the more kids you have, the less you can come back. The harder it will come back from the more kids. That's why women now have to understand, if you have girls and you're relatively strong and maybe you're O positive, you understand my information, and you have a girl, I feel for you. That's going to be a battle. That's going to be a battle. She's up against so much. Like, so much. I don't have to tell you because you already know. Because you already know what you're up against, Mom. And Dad. All right. And so, yeah, there's another article about demonology. The history of demonology and the history of the world. And it's playing with people's spirits. It's playing with the dead. It's programming people. Programming their microbes. Putting them together in a petri dish. Seeing what kind of outcome. That's all biology. That's science. It's academia. That's genetic engineering. That's human programming. That is Hollywood. That's politics. That's science. All working together. That's Northern California, Southern California working together. That's the family. You see with the nuclear family, nuclear reactions. I mean, again, why do you think so much domestic violence? Why do you think so many families are at each other's throats? Why do you think some people don't fit in with their family? Why do you think family is self-destructive? Why do you think it's very hard to break into a family? Either you'll be used as a food or be used as cannon fodder. That's why women that go into families that expect them to have a baby, she's a human sacrifice. These poor girls going into these families that the in-laws expect her to have 50 million kids and use her up. Whoa, now you're seeing slavery still exists, but it is socially acceptable when you signed on the dotted line that you're going to be a broad mare. You're going to be somebody's sexual plaything, but you have to sign the dotted line. You have to give verbal agreement, written agreement, consent. And then the system is going to have to treat all the different growths thereafter. And these poor girls don't survive. But again, they had to have consent, because you can't talk somebody out of that type of life if that's what they think what life is. And so you make sure that it's legally binding. Everything has to be legally binding. Me getting married is legally binding contract that I have to negotiate my survival in. And so does my husband. Everything that you do must be legally binding and given your permission, your consent. And some people don't even know what the hell they're consenting to. They don't even know what they're giving permission to. They're stuck in the allegory. They don't understand the science behind it. They're entering into a snake pit of demons. Literally, people do walk into a snake pit of demons when they enter into a huge family that are looking for their next meal. And sometimes it's the new wife that's the next meal. That's the reality of what's going on in an allegorical sense. Oh, I realized that the last how many years when I'm walking into different families, they're like, who the fuck is this? And if you don't assimilate, if you don't become the food, then they're like, if you're not the food, then if we can't feed upon you, then you can't belong to us, because you're not giving us what we need. We need more food, and you are food. If you don't want to be food, then you got to get out, because you will be eaten alive. Especially when people are so desperate to fit in. They become food and cannon fodder for somebody else's war. That's why women have to be stronger than everyone around them. Because the men will do what men do. They just consume, and they consume and conquer. And that's pretty much their life. And so that's what kind of boys are nowadays, is they just consume and conquer until they try to consume and conquer the wrong thing and they get destroyed. Women have a better chance in surviving if they even understand what they're entering into, what contracts they're entering into. And so even those in the Jilly Juice world, Jilly Juice never saved you. It was a catalyst to an awakening that you will either cultivate and pay attention to or use as yet another remedy. It was a catalyst. Then it became a cure, and now it's not needed as the environment is ionic enough. People are getting cured in this environment, and the skinnier you are, the harder it is to become uncured, the harder it is to release that demon, because you'd have to have the weight on you, and you'd have to be sick. Do you know why I had so much ice cream last summer or the summer before? Because I knew, well, actually it was last summer, I think. I bought 12 boxes of ice cream bars that had 12 ice cream bars in it from Walmart. And I was eating ice cream bars every single freaking night. Now I don't even need the ice cream bars. I haven't eaten an ice cream bar or even ice cream since last summer. But my body was catching up to what it needed to push out that demon and to rebuild and to release demons and to give my body, my immune system, the arsenal to deal with what's going on out there. And I'll tell you, I was sick I remember when, well, that was a year ago. Yeah, I was sick. I had the stiff neck, I had the hives, I had to sleep a lot. I don't even think I had a headache. Because now, when I get introduced to microbes, I have an immune system, and some will get in, and my body will release it, and maybe I'll get a few hives. But then my head fills up, and I develop mucus, and that way I can blow my nose and cough and sneeze. Okay? And so you need food, and if you are craving certain foods, you cannot deny those cravings. You need that food. When people say food is poison, say don't eat this food, don't eat that food. Yeah, those demons making sure they don't ever get out. When people are in starvation, that demon is trying to keep themselves inside. That's why those who are in those yoga stuff, the meditation, the yoga, all the exercise gurus, people that jump into cold water or play those games, or they're all into meditation and air sandwiches and they don't like wait on people. They think it's all unhealthy. They have a demon within that does not want to leave. And the only way to keep that demon within is when they don't eat the food. And so it's not a surprise that those who are in those spiritual types of modalities and dogmas are vegan and vegetarian. Because if they were to actually eat meat, the body would be able to handle and release that demon. People are allergic to milk because they can't handle the life. They haven't conditioned their body to release. Because what happens is when you have milk and meat and cheese and eggs and all that, you're arming your immune system to go and find the enemy and cord it off into a mucus ball, and then you cough it out. Every morning I'm coughing out freaking mucus balls. And especially after a large weekend of diverse people, even my husband, though my husband is less that I have to release. But when I'm around aggressive people and in diverse spaces that are enclosed for a longer time, oh yeah, after I eat a bunch of food, then I'm hawking out loogies. Not because the food's poison, because the body is able to arm itself to then find the enemy within and release it. And I make sure I do. I help my body release those demons. And I still feed myself, and I don't, mischaracterize pain and suffering. Last night, yeah, my arms were a little bit sore. They were sore. My shoulders were sore. I'm like, and even my husband was like, oh, you should wear this jacket. Because we went, again, this last weekend, we went to a showroom, and he wanted me to wear a certain jacket that I can't fit anymore. He bought it for me a couple years ago. Maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. And it looked like one of those, Kimora Lee Simmons type of jacket or a Jennifer Lopez jacket, all fluffy in the hood, and it's all black and sleek and form-fitting. And it was probably a small or a medium, but my shoulders are too broad. My boobs are too big. I have now finally an immune system that works for me. Before, my immune system was still gaining the pressure of becoming a protection that wasn't going to overprotect me or underprotect me. And so when my husband bought all those clothes for me from Lulu Row or whatever, from somebody, one of our friends, I don't fit them anymore. They're all freaking tight. They're too tight. I got to now go buy new clothes. I'm wearing his sweaters. I'm wearing his jeans because they're more comfortable. And that's what it requires, because now you're taking on enough reserves. So that way, when you do get invaded by the evil spirits, the diverse spirits out there, you have energy to convert. That's called being rich. When you have a savings account, you're not living paycheck to paycheck. You have something to fall back on. So that way, when something happens, you don't get fed, or something happens and whatever, you have something to fall back on. So that way you don't starve to death. And you have room to get out of a situation. When people are living paycheck to paycheck and they're in an undesirable situation, they don't have any money to move. They're stuck. They're so aware of what's going on. They're so aware of how miserable they are, but they have no room to move. That's also the truther world. I have truthers on my Facebook that have been around since day one of the J world, and they still are truthing the same truths. And nothing has changed in their world. It's the same stuff. So I'm giving it another perspective on, okay, right? Yes, we learned in the truth of the world way back when that it's like 666, but that's not where I was going. Where I was going was absolute zero, the physics and science behind okay, and the hand gestures that people do in Hollywood and wherever. But you'll find those in the truth of the world that haven't evolved, haven't changed. They're stuck in their body. They're aware of all the shit going on, but they're in that running that loop of a broken record. And so it's like they're an ALS patient, that they're aware of what's going on, but they can't do anything because their whole body is immobile. And they're watching their body break down. That's what ALS patients are dealing with, is their body breaking down. Little by little. And they're still very coherent inside, but they don't have nowhere to move. They're like actually biologically bankrupt. And it's a suffering when you're aware of what's going on, but you can't do shit about it. And so when I get tired of all these truthers saying the same shit over and over again, and you can kind of test or detect some of my irritatedness. I can be a little bit irritable when I have the same people who I've known since back in 12 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, saying the same thing. I know, yes, so one perspective, this is 666. But no, I'm trying to tell you that okay is also absolute zero. 0 Kelvin. Flat line. 666 could also be turned around to be 999, and it's interchangeable. But where I was coming from is something more final than 666. But the truth of the world is all about staying in their allegory, and they don't evolve. They're aware shit's going on, but they don't fucking evolve. There's nothing different in their world. It's the same argument repeated on a loop. That's where I get annoyed. That's where I get irritated. I can bet most people in the jelly juice world thinking jelly juice will give them the edge over others are incubating so much diverse microbes they won't live to tell about it. You had to evolve with my information that sometimes ran parallel to the mainstream media because masks, I understand why people get B's because of blood types. Stay home and stay safe. That's running parallel to the mainstream media. And sometimes I'll say things a little bit differently. Maybe you need some salt. Maybe you need to release some demons. Maybe you don't need to treat disease all the time. Maybe you need to eat a bunch of food and not say that food is poison. And that would run counter to some of the mainstream articles out there. They're like, oh gosh, you can't eat this food. You can't eat that food. But I understand kind of where they're going to and where they're coming from. But still, nothing is universal. You have to be the one to determine what you can handle, what you can't handle. And when the mainstream media is saying flat out or universally, this food's poison, that food's poison, don't do this, don't do that, then sometimes I have to go like, yeah, well, perpendicular thought process. Let me give you another perspective. You had to understand the concepts and laws of biology, physics, even allegory. I was never meant to be used as a Satan or a savior. Okay, my info was meant to keep the evolution going as fast as possible while you supported the info with all food and proper release. My world was never meant to be used as another religion. I'm not religious. I'm a woman of science who cultivated new arguments and understood all arguments or researched all arguments I was not aware of. And there's still probably other arguments out there that I'm not aware of that I'll probably come upon when the time is right. When things are new to you, it means that you will have to figure out how that fits into your world. Doesn't mean it's new. It just means it's new to you, and now you're fitting it into a context that may be a little bit different than your old world. But that would require some intellectual capacity. That would require you not reacting to everything like a drop of a dime like animals do. Animals react. They don't actually think about what they're reacting to. They just react. And the system has turned people into animals who just react, who don't think about what they're reacting to or understand actions and consequences. Because they've been given all the different remedies to make them immune to consequences until those consequences catch up to them and they die suddenly. That's what happens when people don't understand what the hell they're doing, is that the world will catch up to them and they won't survive it. And so food has never caused cancer. It was every single life form you came in contact competing for your vessel. So imagine if I didn't have my release process, right? Imagine if I didn't have the J world. Not so much the jelly juice, because that'll cure you and that'll also make you constipated. But imagine if I didn't have my method of pulling out that crap and coughing and sneezing and blowing my nose. And I'm going out there and hanging out with everybody. And I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where I look like somebody who is morbidly obese. That's not only a diet suddenly waiting to happen, that's also a cancer type of situation. Because then what happens is then you have all those competing microbes in your body that are now activated to then eat everything inside. And then people have cancer, disease, and chronic illness. They start losing weight very quickly. And the cancer is now that entity, that cancer, that opposing force is the only thing really stronger than everything else. And that's where you see the train leaves the station. People have a hard time building the pressure. because that opposing force was allowed to metastasize to such a point where it caused a person to not only gain a bunch of weight, but then when all the conditions are right, they will lose a bunch of weight very quickly. That's called AIDS, when people have that kind of immunological issue, and other diseases. And losing weight very quickly is a sign that someone has disease in their body. And so in this environment, these girls are like, oh, look, yeah, I've lost so much weight. I've lost 60 pounds, 70 pounds. Just wait as they keep starving themselves, showing everybody how hot they are on Facebook. Look at me, I'm so skinny. One day they will not be able to get ahead of that. The microbes inside that are causing them to lose that much weight, that much diversity, because they're out there with people. They're not releasing the demons, obviously, and they're starving themselves. Eventually, they can't get ahead of it, and it's like they're in turbo cancer? They're in stage 4 cancer. It's done. They're done, or they die suddenly. So watch those girls on Facebook who went from being really big to now being really skinny. It just takes a couple years, especially when they have helpers from the pharmaceuticals and from the holistic industry, especially when they deny themselves food. Food has never caused cancer. It was every single life form you came in contact with competing for your vessel. Look how social people's lifestyles are today. And the longer people are in diverse company, the more microbes replicate and cause so much competition. That's why the weight is astronomical for some, and why some people can't gain the weight. They cannot control the competition in their body. The system incubates demons within you and made it socially acceptable to develop them, even get vaccines against them. And then people suffer through all the treatments and behaviors, further justifying to their friends and family why they should never change. Not realizing those treatments made everything worse, much worse. The depopulation agenda was for you to starve yourself of food while you are bringing in diverse competing microbes in your immune system, and then weakening yourself through every remedy and treatment, and women having children weaken their immune system. The protection she once had turned into a life form she must now expend resources to take care of, further weakening her immune system. So imagine you're trying to manage all that diversity in your body, and you're eating, but the food's not going to you. It's going to that demon that has an endless stomach, that it keeps replicating, using your resources to keep replicating, and you're not building your infrastructure, and then you die from that. So imagine now you have a kid that's eating you out of house and home, eating everything, using up all your resources, all your energy, until there's nothing left. And then you die because you're giving your life to that child that eventually will pass away too, because they're not going to do anything different. And so some women understand what it means to gain the weight, and so she has something to convert. Other women don't understand this, and their children will destroy them. Some women have the weight and are starving themselves because they can't manage it, and then taking on new life forms in their house, causing more competition. I see people out there like, oh, I want a dog. Somebody find me a dog. To do what? Oh, because they're lonely. They want something to play with. They want something to go and wield their power over, I guess. And so all the different diseases and sudden events lay the groundwork for a more aggressive sudden event situation in the future. The amount of sudden events is enough indicators for the system to turn up the heat even more so. However, ignorance is bliss, right? That's called disease X. And you'll be given a scapegoat, so you have someone to blame, so your kids don't even learn from your mistakes, and they will fall to the same outcome. As they're out there hanging out with everybody, and they're not eating their food because food is too painful, they'll treat every single disease. And they don't even know any better. They are listening to you, mom and dad. They are watching you, copying you. The information is powerful. This information is powerful information that you'll either just laugh at, and then all the suffering of your friends and family will be astronomical. Because when you pass away, when you die suddenly, you won't feel it. You won't even be around. But your friends and family will be suffering. And they either learn from you or they're going to go over the cliff with you. You will be the ultimate lesson to your friends and family. You either survive your lifestyle and you keep surviving, and it's day by day, or you'll be a lesson of what to do if people don't want to feel pain, which means they'll end up rest in peace, or they will have to go and face their demons and realize that your lifestyle was going over the cliff. And then if they copy you, that's where they're going to end up. Or if they do something opposite and finally face the pain and suffering and eat food and stay home and stay safe, they might actually save themselves and buy themselves a few more, who knows. There's no guarantee, because you have no idea what people are doing when they're changing. You don't know how they're characterizing disease and food and all that, and pain. Or it might encourage you to change the way you do shit. Either way, you have choices now. But if you choose to go and get distracted with hatred and other intolerances, or trying to save people through all your remedies and meditation, you're laying the groundwork for you and your own die suddenly. You won't be around for your kids if you don't wake the fuck up. I'm not angry. After this weekend, I see things a lot more clearly around demonology. I know what demons I fought and released the last 3 years, more so the last 7 years, more so the last 3 years. I know what's in all of you. And I know the suffering you're going through, and it will be going through, if not already. If anything, I just want you to sort of prepared, even if you're not prepared. Expect the unexpected. But at least now you have a little bit of knowledge to work with. Even though it might be too far gone for some people, or you're too far gone, but what are you going to do? This information might actually plant a seed, and some people might actually pull out a demon. And sometimes you have to cut your nails so you don't hurt your own internal immune system. The family has been self-imploding for a while. So what am I responding to? Nuclear family. A nuclear family is a family unit that consists of 2 parents and their children, usually living in one household. Nuclear families are also known as elementary families, atomic families, serial packet families, that's interesting, or conjugal families. Well, that's more to the point. Atomic and conjugal. Nuclear. You know what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? You know what happens when you put in really volatile ingredients together, like chemistry, and you get explosions or vapors that are deadly? When you put in so many opposing forces in one family, you see what the fireworks happen? You see some people don't survive their family. They die suddenly, or infanticide, even homicide. So in this environment, you're seeing a lot of people deal with the families they're living with, and they can't handle it anymore. And that's what you're facing in this environment, is that the family is now self-imploding. And people are not only at each other's throats, politically, spiritually, but even microbially. But with that whole demon and angel thing, just because they're kind and peaceful and nice doesn't mean that the microbes aren't kind. No, the microbes in the people's bodies are always trying to go and possess somebody else, forcing you to defend yourself. And sometimes people defend themselves by harming themselves because they don't understand what defense actually is. But again, that's something that it takes life experience and understanding the basics of physics, the basics of biology, the basics. And when people come into this world completely ignorant of all the basics, and they're given storylines, allegory, story, all that, yeah, forget it. There's no way you can go and give them a crash course on survival of your family, who are giving you toys and trips and, you know, all the creature comforts and pleasures in paradise. People are hypnotized by their own family, hypnotized by their friends, under the influence. There's no freaking way and of course, these kids, they can't go anywhere else. Where are they going to go? So they're stuck. You hope they survive their own family. You hope the parents survive their own children. The family has been self-imploding for a while. People were in denial, blaming somebody else. You see where this is going, right? The family will destroy themselves if they don't find a way to strengthen each other, and then eventually go to their separate ways so they don't destroy each other at the micro level. My sister and I, the one I grew up with, we were given a gift. We were given a gift that we weren't supposed to be connected. And even though I thought that was a bad thing, no, that was a good thing. Because she has a chance to compete in her world and be a representation of whatever. I have a chance to be, you know, compete in my world and be a representation of whatever, and the system will observe both of us. And that way I'm not subject to her demons. She's not subject to my demons. And we have to be accountable for our own choices in life. Yes, the program might have been different biologically and even psychologically. But either way, once we wake up, I woke up 7 years ago, literally woke up 7 years ago, and it just took 7 years of evolution. Some people wake up too late. They wake up and they watch their life flash before their eyes after having so many kids, so many friends, so many families, so many crazy experiences. Could they have a chance to redirect? Oh, I don't know if you have the infrastructure. I don't know if you have the wherewithal. Some people are forced to stay in the situation they're in because they couldn't survive without it. And that I understand too. Okay? So the family will destroy themselves if they don't find a way to strengthen each other and then eventually go their separate ways so they don't destroy each other at the micro level. I can feel my husband's microbes go through my immune system, and it's painful sometimes to release those demons. And the more diverse company I keep, the more intense the pain is. Okay? So this time I felt it in my upper arms, a dull ache. That was last night. I was tossing and turning last night. It was hot for me last night. And I felt a presence. I had to close the bedroom door because every single time I look to my left, to that dark doorway, I just keep seeing shadows. It was just, okay? And then when my body goes through those processes, right, then I don't feel that anxiety or fear of those shadows. So I open the door. But I do hear sounds. I mean, I'll tell you, there are ghosts in this house. Obviously, you don't see them zipping by, through the Facebook Live. But I know they're there. When those light bulbs, that package of light bulbs fell, just toppled by itself off the top of the roll-off desk. I'm like, what the hell? Some frequencies, whether it's my husband and I together from all the diversity and then all of our nuclear reactions coming together, causing then that energy to give room for then that activity, or it's the frequencies. You'll never know where the energy actually came from. Sometimes it's you and the chemical reactions between you and your significant other, or you and the people around you. And sometimes it's the frequencies that also catalyze that. But if I hadn't gone to the restaurant and to that showroom, that dealership showroom, full of testosterone energy, would I have experienced it? Well, I would not. You can't really, there's no way to know. But you have to understand how energy works and how nuclear reactions work, how family works. Okay? And so, this time I felt it in my upper arms, a dull ache, but that's about it. No more pain this morning because I released those demons and I sat with the pain last night. It wasn't enough to post it on Facebook, but I noticed a difference last night. And then I also channeled that energy through then my awareness about the yoga and the chakras and all of, because I remember again when I went to the Berkeley Psychic Institute with my friend Teresa way back in the 90s. And they did a reading on me. They did an aura reading, and they saw that my lower chakra was more than my upper chakras. I knew the demon was down there. I knew I had a fucking demon down there. And I released that demon too the last 3 years. And those demons also are lipomas, fatty tumors. They are cancer, disease, chronic illness, and sometimes they're your children. Okay? And so that's why you have to understand what you can handle as far as release. I see the difference every Monday and Tuesday after a big weekend, or just my husband. And sometimes I can channel that energy. And then when you see me downloading so much, typing so much, and having so many thought processes, that's the downloads from the energy and whatever microbes inside causing me to then produce. I'm getting downloads from my own internal universe, and I'm sharing it with all of you. Okay? And so my husband is easier to handle as far as his microbes. Other people's more aggressive. I have to literally eat to release those demons, and I have to eat a lot. So I had deer steak. I had venison last night. I had the leftover yams with the brown sugar and butter. And I also had a bunch of meatloaf and potatoes. I made potato latkes. I cut up potatoes and fried them with onions and flour and egg. And so I had a bunch of food last night because I had to feed those demons. Imagine when you're around a bunch of testosterone, a bunch of men, that in a showroom that are all big, beefy men. And I walked into that showroom, it was like all these guys that were watching the Browns game, and they're big, beefy dudes, and they're wearing the Browns outfits. And I'm like, and they probably eat steak and potatoes. So what I got their microbes just being in that room, and I have to eat steak and potatoes in order to keep up with the microbes from my exposure. And even my husband. That's why him and I have the same diet, because we have to keep up with each other. If not, if I'm eating just vegetarian and lettuce and he's eating steak and potatoes, guess who's going to eat me alive? My husband's going to eat me alive. Just like a person eating a deer who only eats grass, and a hunter who eats meat, who eats deer that eats grass. Just like, if I was not eating meat and potatoes, he would be cannibalizing me, and I would waste away to nothing because of his energy. So I have to eat the same thing that he eats in order to keep up with him. Okay, you understand how that works? You need food, women and men. You need food, especially when you're around people of diverse company. And if that diverse company are people who are bigger, who eat meat and milk and cheese, then you better eat meat, milk and cheese and eggs and whatever so you can survive your environment. If you don't eat what the biggest person in your world eats, then they will cannibalize you, just like a hunter eating a doe or even a buck who only eats grass. That's why parents must save themselves. And I don't know how you'll do that when you have other competing microbes competing for your attention and resources. It's a bloody fight to the death. People don't survive their family and friends. I hate to be the bearer of the bad news. This is why you must eat so much food if you're holding court with children and family. And yes, sickness is inevitable. The world is not what you think. All of those arguments and political thought processes are distractions. So you never pay attention to what's going on inside your house or your body because you're under the influence. Why do you think that they call it conjugal families? Because all of your microbes are having sex with each other, developing offspring, new diseases, or new babies. It's all nuclear reactions manifesting into behaviors and belief systems and intolerance. And that's why all the wars, domestic violence, cancer, and people self-medicating because of the misery and suffering. And it's so sad. On top of that, people bring in animals to make it even more diverse and aggressive. And that's what you're up against. You are competing with every single life form in your household. So when my dog was dying and I'm helping her release demons and all this other crap and feeding her and see if I can get her over, but then those operations caused her to be even like, it was just like, oh, fuck. Because those came back and the holes were coming back and her microbes got into me. And then, yeah, she did scratch me. I mean, I did feel a little bit of pain here last night because this was a little bit swollen because the throbbing of everything. But her microbes got into me and caused me to have a stiff neck. I remember after she passed away, it was like in the end of February, beginning of March. She passed away and we got over that. All of us got over that because that was very traumatic for all of us. And then I got a major stiff neck. I could barely move. I had a big, huge, I won't say huge, but it was like a growth in the back of my neck. And that's my immune system. That's the top chakra building up its defenses so it can help me release those demons and save me from any kind of stroke or heart attack. Okay. And so, yeah, her microbes got into my bloodstream. So imagine when you have animals, those microbes get into your bloodstream and who knows what kind of havoc they wreak. I'm not getting an animal again. I will not get an animal again. Demon equals angel. Antigen equals antibody. Okay, so demons and angels are like the antigen and antibody, and they're interchangeable. Just like people, just like men, just like women. You can become a gang member or a protector. And it's all, again, relative to intention. They are interchangeable and they can convert. It's all relative to perspective and intention and the programming of the society of that household at the time. The deception is when the demon masks himself as the angel and vice versa. And you won't know until you've had enough life experience to understand manipulation and facades. And I said, I hope you survive. Some people can play both sides and you won't know. Some people can only play one side relative to that religion, politic, or scientific dogma. That's the chaos. There's no uniformity. People get fooled by their friends or family recommending them stuff. They're like the angels masked. They're like the demons masked as angels. When you see in those die suddenly groups and they're recommending you ivermectin and everything else, those are your angels masked as, those are your demons masked as angels. And people are like, oh, you're my savior, when they're Satan causing more fertility in you, claiming they're saving you. That's why The Walking Dead was saying, the saviors are the most deadliest because you can't tell who they are. The saviors are the ones that are destroying you the most. That's the chaos. There's no uniformity. People get fooled. That's why I just stick on my own, because people's angels and demons at the micro level are extremely aggressive. Okay? And so you see these pictures that show you have a mad angel and a smiling, beautiful demon. That's the succubus, that's the incubus, that's Hollywood, that's OnlyFans, that's Instagram. Those are hot chicks out there. They're beckoning you, causing men to lose their seed, causing men to throw out all logic out the window because they're so attracted to these hot chicks that are showing their assets, attracting you, them. And so I know now what Hollywood has done, what the 1960s did, making the girls very skinny, men really beefy and hardly any fat, all full of muscle. And then radicalizing people's immune system, radicalizing their sexuality. And then it comes across the silver screen, the TV, the books, the everything. These kids are programmed to procreate. That's why you had all these people in high school in the 80s and the 90s having sex at such a young age, and then you have these children from 20-year-olds. It's not a coincidence. It was all planned. That was how they're going to destroy you through the family. In some places like Ohio and Mississippi, you have 20-year-olds with 5 kids. How did that happen? Oh, well, probably that's a little extreme. But that's not out of the realm of possibility. 20-year-old with 3 or 4 kids. Oh yeah, because they were programmed at a young age to go and procreate. Because there wasn't too much of the academia in their town. It's mostly casinos and liquor stores and factories. So you had the men that were programmed to go to the factories, be the truck drivers. You had to have hot chicks to keep them company, make their food, be their vessel to take in all their stuff. Oh, I know exactly how people are programmed in different towns, whether it's California and the 2 coasts, or it's some, rural town, or some, town that only has like blue collar industry. The chicks were made for the men to go and use and abuse, and also develop families to keep the men in line, keep the women in line. And then they have the medical industry to keep treating you to death. That's why those like in Ohio and Mississippi and other places, if they even survive this great reset, don't fall into your friends and family's outcomes. If you can get these kids not to procreate and have a bunch of kids, they might have a chance. But some of these kids are too far gone. Their train has left the station. They have already been influenced by everyone around them, even their own mothers, who become their madam. What people get deceived by is the fact that overtly people might seem nice and peaceful and calm, but their microbes will attack you. It's like a camouflage. Somebody said that some culture was doing this or something, and she was saying that they're peaceful people, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm sure they are. But that's not the only thing to go by as far as the facade. When you go out there and you look at people, you see, so many different looks and behaviors and personifications. Remember, you can't judge a book by its cover. Looks can be deceiving. It's not even saying what's on the inside, because that's even irrelevant, because what does that mean? That's all relative to religion and spirituality. It's the microbes you have to be aware of. Those microbes are like little grenades, and some people cannot handle other people's microbes. What people get deceived by is the fact that overtly people might seem nice and peaceful and calm, but their microbes will attack you. It's like a camouflage, but a deceptive camouflage of attraction. So these plants that are so poisonous, right, out there in the Amazon, they're so beautiful, and it becomes a journey. I don't say a journey. A pilgrimage to go and find the most beautiful orchid in the most craziest area that most of mankind has not been in. But that orchid is, I'm not saying orchid, let's say another plant, because I don't want to say orchid. Another plant is so poisonous, but it's so beautiful and so rare. That's the camouflage of attraction. When you see these gorgeous girls on Facebook, gorgeous guys on Facebook, and they look so beautiful and so rare, and you're just like taken in by their aura, by their sexuality, and then you get with them and they poison you and you die. That's like the sea nymphs in the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's like the poisonous flowers, even like the rose with the thorns. Beauty is very deceiving. Sexuality is extremely deceiving. That's the deceptive camouflage of attraction. So when you are attracted to something, like literally attracted to something, you better check what it is you're attracted to. Because it's like a tractor beam. And when people pull you into their world because of what it is that they're offering you, tempting you with, better figure out what the hell it is they're offering you. Because it may not be good for you, okay? You have to be able to see through the literal bullshit. Yes, people might be nice. They might be attractive. They might even seem peaceful to you. It's their immune system is what will destroy you, especially in a very highly aggressive environment. But even in a slower frequency environment, you just couldn't make the connections. I mean, what's happening now has happened before, but in a slower frequency. So you never made the connections. You realize the faster these frequencies are, the faster I'm making these connections. That's why you're seeing the evolution of the Jilly Juice world happen so quickly, because the frequencies are happening so quickly that I'm becoming smarter and making the connections. And then it's no coincidence, people are also dying too, faster. Because they're not making the connections. They keep missing the connections because they haven't taken the time to build that infrastructure so they can make the connections. And so they supernova, breakage, so much resistance and breakage. Don't let people's looks and demeanor fool you. It's not that they're mean or bad. It's their demons, their microbes. And sometimes it comes out in their behaviors. It comes out in what you think is like just innocent curiosity, but there's actually an agenda behind the curiosity. They're finding a way to slam you. Oh, I've felt that from some women out there. They have this what they think is a genuine curiosity about my world. And they'll be inquisitive and ask me questions. And then you're seeing the little jabs here and there. Like they're trying to find a way to just, discredit you through the conversation. Oh, I recognize the manipulation. And it's from some of these hot chicks out there that have heard about my information. They read about my information. And now they have access to me. So they're going to ask me questions. And when they do, you can feel what her intentions are. And again, it's not a coincidence. She's also gorgeous with lips and hair and nails. And she's also taking a little knife and just stabbing me in different areas. But I understand that and I get it. It's not she's bad. It's her demons are in control. And sometimes when people's demons are in control, it's not like you don't like them. I'm like, hey, they could be nice. I don't know. But you realize people's demons are in control and they will find a way to destroy you and discredit you when possible. That's why you be very careful with hot chicks, hot men, and people who are very attractive and find a way to lure you into their situation. And some people want to be lured into that because it's better just to die in pleasure than to live in pain. I guess. That's why religion and spirituality can be so deceptive. People tricking each other into virtual Congress groupthink. Right now, it's very hard for people to get ahead of their exposure to everyone. So be mindful. Just because they're having a good time and they're like, oh, look, I'm having a good time. Look, I'm partying, pleasure in paradise. The microbes are attacking them. And then when they go home, they bring all that stuff home to their kids and to whoever else. And then people are deteriorating. They're at home deteriorating as their body is breaking down progressively. But they don't make that connection that their lifestyle and all of that deceptive groupthink is what's causing the breakdown. And so think of these chakra lines as your alimentary canal. People are blocked up, full of poop, full of demons or traumatic memories, antigen, antibody programming, and those demons influence all those different chakras. That's why all the love and anger, love and light, and then switch to anger and hatred. Predominantly skinny men and women gravitate towards this type of practice of yoga and playing with people's chakras. What kind of demons do they hold inside? What kind of demons do they transfer to other people? How much anger do they hold inside? Do they have enough room for energy conversion so they can release the demons and rebuild the body? You have to have weight on you to be able to convert energy and release those demons, like having a savings account. Or those demons have a grip on you, and that grip within that canal. It's not a coincidence. The alimentary canal follows the same chakra lines. People's energy is starving for food, and the body wants to kick out the demons, but it seems Eastern and Western modalities keep those demons inside people and cultivate them. Why do you think people who do this type of Eastern and Western modality are vegetarian or vegan or gluten intolerant? Why do you think they're anti-V? Because they know they're full of diverse microbes. They can't afford it anymore, but they don't understand that even going out to these different rallies and symposiums and activist things are actually causing the demons to metastasize and become even more so, becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, because of course they're going to blame the shedding. Well, of course. If you're against the V's and don't want to get the V stuff, whatever, then you shouldn't be out there with people who are shedding all over you, even those who say they're not V'd. The less weight that's on you, the more the demon gets cemented in and becomes your personality. It becomes who you are, possession. And when you're very skinny, it's easier for demons to enter into the body, especially when you don't have enough of an immune system called fat adipose tissue, because they enter in easily through all the different portals and chakras. That's why I don't mess with any Eastern or Western modalities of medicine or therapy. And I can handle my husband's demons. He enters them. His stuff enters into the different portals, and I can deal with that. I mean, it's hives, yes, and sometimes it's a crazy release process, but it's not as bad as going into a bunch of snakes that I have to then release those demons later on. Okay? So you got to pick and choose who's worth it to you for their company to also have to deal with the demons they hold inside. I'm not trying to transfer any demon onto me or give any of my demons to somebody else. I'm not a demon wrangler or of strangers, because it becomes a war and you take on the other people's demons and they destroy you. And so if you're offended by this information, there was somebody that came through a troll. Trolls are the demons of Facebook, and they could be your friends and family. I've done it. I've trolled people. My demons came out on people. Sometimes they do come out. I don't mean for them to come out, but they do come out because it happens. I'll tell you, and Facebook can recognize people's demonic behavior. That's why people get censored, because you can tell what information they're passing along. You can feel that aggressive energy. Oh, just look at some of the comments. Just look at that one comment that one girl made. And she's in the yoga world. Okay? She's like so many other yoga women that are in that modality, especially in California and all points in between. Skinny, have children. They're all love and light until they're not. Okay? And if you go against them in any way, shape, or form, then the anger and that demon comes out. And that's why you saw those pictures of that snake that's wrapping around that person's spine, that sometimes it's calm and sometimes it's angry. All right? That's the whole Kundalini, the yoga, the serpent. And so, what did I say about that? Hold on. This is why I don't mess with anything yoga or Kundalini or meditation or anything like that. People are opening portals for demons to enter, and those demons are hard to kick out. When you open up to release, people don't know how to manage that opening, and so when they release, things also get in. So when you're having some Reiki artist playing with your chakras, or some massage therapist opening up your portals, they might be releasing some aggressive energy, just like operations, like for carpal tunnel, releasing fluid, but you don't know what you're letting in. That's the other side of it. People don't understand. They think, okay, I'm doing a release process, but then those portals get left open and demonic energy gets in and sometimes metastasize. That's why I don't fuck with anyone messing with my stuff for my husband. And even then, that's very few and far between of what he does. Because people do let in those demons through the modalities of acupuncture, of massage therapy, of Reiki, even through the Zoom or Facebook Live. when they're telling you how to manipulate your own chakras. You don't know what you're releasing. You don't know even what you're bringing into your world. People don't know what the hell they're doing. And so when someone thinks they know what they're doing because they followed some kind of class that says, oh, it's going to make you much more healthier and enlightened and blah, 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 blah. They get sold into the marketing side of it. And then they are a sitting duck. And now they're so full of this stuff. And then they troll people. They turn into demons that speak out against a different perspective of their lifestyle. And so when you're so full of spirits transferred from people who play with your chakras or tell you to play with your chakras, that's when people age extremely aggressively and or manage disease, or they're extremely fertile, they're sexual, and they're showing you all their different poses with everything all hanging out, and they're also looking for a man. Making it worse with the spices and herbs and chants and drum circles. And so that's why people will love you and hate you and destroy you through those mediums. It's not them, it's their demons. People's demons control them, and they become very angry or they love you to death. Cunning. Which is why you must understand how to deal with people's demons. You have to learn how to speak to the person bypassing their demons. And sometimes it's impossible. You're talking to the demon. There's no way to reason with demons. You could probably reason with the person if they have more weight to them so they can switch back and forth to them and then the demon. But if their demon is stronger than the person, then you're going to be talking to the demon, not the person, then it's forget it. But when someone's very skinny, you're probably talking to the demon. You got to be very careful how you're dealing with people. And a weight isn't always an indicator that you might be able to reason with them. So then it's like, oh gosh, what is actually controlling them? And you can tell through the emotions, through the responses, through even what they focus on. Which is also why artificial intelligence picks up people's extreme behaviors and their demons, and they censor you. How many people are still getting banned? I mean, I noticed I got put on timeout because I responded to some 80s child limerick, where it had a little bit of violence in it. But it was a child song, and I'm just like, I'm just responding to somebody that, okay, yeah. That right there is a type of demonology. The system doesn't want violence on Facebook. Though they, sometimes the algorithms miss some people's information. I get it's not 100% perfect. But yeah, when you're getting censored by Facebook and you're having to go to your other account and you're always getting put in jail and they're like, oh, it's Facebook there. Nah. Facebook understands the demonology. Facebook understands it detects demons. It detects misinformation. It detects extremism. So, which is also why artificial intelligence picks up on people's extreme behaviors and their demons, and they censor you. But you think they're being discriminatory. No, they're picking up on your demons. It's not difficult to recognize people's demons. And so the Sanskrit term Kundalini Shakti translates as serpent power. So then you see that, what is it? A cadula? It's a staff with that snake. What do you think Moses, when he threw the staff at Pharaoh, when he said, okay, then I'm going to have my God give you the 10 plagues, that staff turned into a serpent. And you're playing with serpents, serpent power? What the hell do you think you're doing? Kundalini is thought to be an energy released with an individual using specific meditation techniques. It is represented symbolically as a serpent coiled at the base of the spine. And so then these yogis are snake charmers. These people that play with your chakras, snake charmers. Demons playing with demons. And it even happens in the religious world. They say they're against this, but they're also snake charming each other into not eating food, calling people Satan and whatever, thinking themselves the savior. They're aging aggressively. They're hanging out together, mixing microbes. throwing scripture at each other as if they are protecting themselves from the evil dead, but they are actively deteriorating. And they're justifying going to the other side. And they're afraid of food, in the meantime starving themselves on vegan and vegetarian diets. Yeah. Roll in what you think. AJ Flip said, when you sing to certain music or watch certain movies, allows demons like energies to enter you and your children. No need for meditation and chanting. The trick is to protect yourself after you learn how we are really influenced. He's absolutely right. That's extremely correct. And see, the thing is, I'm an adult. I can watch certain movies and watch certain things that I can't watch. Like some of the gory stuff, I can't watch that. And sometimes, like last night, I couldn't watch certain movies that had more of an ominous type of background because I felt the aggressive energy even in my room. So I would switch to something like Virgin River or, some comedy to lighten the atmosphere. So yeah, AJ Flip is exactly right. Exactly right. All right, let me see. So I got that. Nuclear family, I got that. Let's make sure. All right. And so there's this Facebook reel that someone did by Jason Rosa, 73. Demonology. Just learn how to be peaceful, humble person who's not greedy or out to destroy. Release those demons. Because, yes, Hollywood, especially back in the 70s, and you knew what happened to that girl, the daughter from the mamas and papas, and her dad kept victimizing her all the time. Okay, kids do get turned into little adults. And that's why you see some of these kids are very precocious and very mature for their age in Hollywood, because they were exposed to so much. And so that's why also Imhotep was so smart, because I'm sure he was exposed to so much. And yeah. And so then those demons get developed in children at a young age that it might be hard for them to release that demon. But I know what demons were controlling me in my 30s and 40s, and it was a fight to get it out. It was a fight to deal with it. But I knew what was controlling me. And I knew there was a point in the year 2000, 1999, 2000, when I started getting that PMDD, where I was at my wit's end because that demon was controlling me. And I remember just crying so hard from a situation because I knew what was controlling me. And I knew that was my fight for survival. I mean, I'm telling you, man, people don't realize to what extent how demonology is so pervasive in families, in human experimentation. Okay? And once you recognize that there's that freaking demon inside, then now it is a fight for fucking survival. And you're going to have to put in the time. And a lot of these Hollywood actresses and actors had the demon implanted in them at a very young age. And then they're acting out their programming. And sometimes they're allowed to do whatever, and then they get held to account many years later because no one held them accountable at the time that they were acting out those behaviors. And so then they get humiliated. Then the shame. And that's what's going on with the Epstein people, with Mr. Brand, even P. Diddy allegedly. He was given so much latitude to do whatever. And then the system will take them down with shame and humiliation and exposure to what they were allowed to do for so many years. That's why be very careful when you get whatever you want. When no one holds you to accountability, they're doing you a disservice. The system held my ass accountable many years ago in 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019, and I'm so glad they did. That was a gift they gave me, was accountability. So then I learned, I evolved, and then now you have this potential thing that could make you aware to potentially save you if you can. But those that don't hold their kids accountable, those that don't get held accountable, they're setting themselves up for a die suddenly. Parents who don't hold their 30-year-old sons accountable for their behaviors, and even their daughters, they're setting themselves up for a die suddenly situation, because when you don't get accountability, you don't know the danger of not being held accountable to your actions. That's why spoiling children and spoiling adults is a dangerous thing. But again, it's pleasure in paradise, and that's how you set people up for destruction. You give them pleasure in paradise. Give them whatever they want, to the point where they destroy themselves and they have no conditioning to deal with change or accountability. The demons of awareness is what keeps people from changing themselves to save themselves. People have been given the demons of awareness, and it's destroying them as they're frozen, resisting evolution. Okay, so awareness without behavioral change is someone frozen in time. Okay, what does frozen in time mean? Not changing or updating, completely static. It's like people with ALS, with information stuck in a body. They can't move, but they are aware. It's frustrating when you are aware and you can't move. And so, yeah, that's a lot of the truther community. And then there's this thing called demon dust. It's a supplement. It's probably high energy. It's probably used for those who work out in the gyms. Hidden in plain sight. This is what people buy and sell. I wouldn't touch that supplement with a 10-foot pole. People think salt is poison, but they don't blink an eye with this energy powder. And so when you think about what happened to Shanann Watts and Chris Watts, Shanann Watts was a rep for Thrive. And she had those patches. She was promoting these supplements that are high energy called Thrive. And she had she had drinks, and she would go to different events, and she'd be on Facebook all the time, like I am, but she would be selling this to people. And so then her husband got onto it. Now her husband, at the time, he was just kind of like a vessel that needed to be filled. She was a very influential person, obviously, because she was selling Thrive. She had her own issues with lupus. Highly motivated, self-motivated. Is probably more in debt because of her investing into that MLM. She might have been a little snarky back then. She had 2 children. And she might have had a way about her that was a little disparaging to her husband. And I'm sure he felt trapped trying to raise all these kids plus support that lifestyle. And he, again, is a vessel. He was also on the Thrive himself, that energy stuff. He was working out. He found a girl that paid attention to him, that didn't treat him like shit. He fell in love with her. And he wanted to end his old life. And he had the energy to do it. It messed with his brain. And so he destroyed his family so he can pursue that new life. That's the thing, man. I don't want those supplements, especially in this environment. Those high energy supplements are deadly, not only to the person, because it could cause heart attacks and strokes and other things. And of course, not eating food, because I'm sure you're not hungry when you're on those energy drinks and energy, packets. But imagine when somebody is in a situation where they can't get out and they're thinking some pretty crazy shit, and they get exposed to a different lifestyle that they want to go and pursue to the detriment of their current lifestyle. Some people act on those urges. And so that's why I don't talk to anyone, really. The environment is ripe with people's demons in control, because they're on all these different drugs and alcohol and supplements and energy stuff, right? Some people's demons cause them to do horrific things when they feel backed into a corner. This guy, Chris Watts, murdered his wife, and he was on excessive energy boosting supplements. His wife, Shanann Watts, he murdered, was also a rep for this type of industry as well. People don't know what they're messing with. That's why the public is pretty crazy out there. Particle acceleration on steroids. And so disease equals demons. The ultimate birth of your life that destroys you. When people manage that demon within and they don't get rid of it altogether, because people do age even after all the treatments, that fertility destroyed them. Fertility is deadly. That's the human depopulation agenda, is fertility. Whether it's at the micro level with disease and things you have to manage through the medical industry, or it's having a bunch of children and friends and family and associations and religion. Your death, if you were to look back on if you die, let's say you're a ghost and you're watching my information, your death came from the life you birthed, from every single experience and people you came in contact with that you never released. And you also starved yourself at the same time. Your death came from the life you birthed from every single experience and people you came in contact with that you never released. That's why there's so many strains of diseases people get vaccines for. People keep making offspring and offshoots of current diseases. Sometimes they're children. It's impossible not to in a diverse world unless you figure out how to manage disease within you and release those demons. And remember, every single time you come in contact with somebody, you will have a baby offspring called mucus, disease, and sometimes cancer if you don't release. And when you're taking mucus drying agents, you're taking pineapple juice and things to stop your body from releasing, then you're incubating not only disease, but potentially even a baby, and then potentially not even a baby, then it's a cancer, and then it's died suddenly. Sickness is the fertility of the demon inside of you, and the body is trying to push out that little baby demon called disease. Mucus is the offspring. That's why with my PMDD for many years was like giving birth to a demon once a month. I would get constipated, I'd get bloated. It was like giving birth to the newest offspring that I came in contact with from going to the clubs and everything on the weekend. So during the week, I get into relative equilibrium, right? During the week, get up, drink my coffee, and get on the BART station or get on the bus or get into my car, drive to work, do what I do, and then go home and eat food and do the same thing for 5 days. And then on the weekend, I'm in different places. I'm either like over here, over there. And then on Monday Monday morning is when my body reconciles with that weekend. And that's why I would call in sick on a Monday, because it would take at least 24 hours to incubate those prior experiences. That was the demon within dealing with, that was the PMDD. And of course, my lower chakras were the demon. And so it was like giving birth to a fucking demon baby every single month, some worse than others. That's why with my PMDD for many years was like giving birth to a demon once a month. That's why women have at least 20 to 30 years, maybe 40, to have children before the body says, nope, you don't have the resources to organize another human being from your loins. The world is not what you think. Fertility, panspermia. Panspermia is a theory that the meteors that hit the earth seeded the planet. And yeah, absolutely. Just like when my head had open portals, right? The chakras were open because the disease was still very influential, and it had all these orbs around my head, like little spermies, little viral spermies trying to get in. Like little tadpoles going after an egg. I couldn't say sperm in Bing AI generator, so I had to say tadpoles orbiting or attacking an egg. Okay? Panspermia. The pictures below. Meteors to a planet. Sperm to an egg. Orbs around a head. That's why when you're in mixed company, people are aged quicker or get sick all the time because of fertility is high in this environment. It doesn't mean women will get pregnant all the time. It just means that they will develop a lot more sickness, and boys will mature faster, so will girls. Current diseases become more aggressive. And so I'm watching Stranger Things, and so Will in Stranger Things is hiding from the Demogorgon and the upside down, like your inner child hiding from the demons the system cultivated in you as 11, that protagonist who was that science experiment in that facility, Hawkins Laboratory, uses her powers to find Will fighting the demons. And so it's not a coincidence that the lights were the way Will was able to communicate with his mother in the waking world. So he was in the upside down, and that thin wall of where that Demogorgon, that demon, was holding Will hostage in the upside down, and Will's trying to get a hold of his mom, says, Mom, I need help, or whatever, and even his friends were trying to look for him. Okay, you're seeing the thin layer between the dead world and the waking world is so thin, and there are demons that do go back and forth in between the waking world and the dead world. That's what you're in right now. That's what Stranger Things is all about. is that in this high frequency environment, CERN and all that, Large Hadron Collider and people's demons, Pandora's box, children, your kids, who they are really are overtaken by the demons within. And do they have what it takes to fight those demons within? And then so Winona Ryder, looking for her son who is stuck in the upside down, she knows he's there, but she can't reach him. And so then the communication between her and her son always gets intercepted by that demon entity that keeps garbling the message. That's why sometimes it's difficult to even reach people, because the demons within them are garbling up the communication. And so that in this environment, you're going to see people's demons even more so. And you'd be like, dude, does that person have a screw loose? Dude, oh my God, I can't reach them. I can't teach them. You can't. The demons are in control. And so the movie, oh yeah, here we go. The frequencies is how Will is trying to contact his mother. This movie is representation of people trying to reach their friends and family, looking for signs they can save them. What people don't understand and realize is they're up against the upside down world as the demons keep intercepting people's communication with each other. People don't even know who they're speaking to anymore. Just like when you answer your phone, you don't know who you're talking to, because remember all those apps that spoof phone numbers. That happened to me a few years ago. People were calling me from all these different places trying to scare me and shit. And I didn't know about phone spoofing. Oh, I learned very quickly that was all a way to gaslight me into reactions. That's what demons do. They try to gaslight people into reactions. Those are the trolls. Those are the people that try to destroy others. And they're all over your Facebook. And if you give them your phone number, oh Lord, if they find your phone number, they'll try to call you 24/7. But I don't answer my phone anymore. There's telemarketers that scam people. When you answer your phone, you have no idea who it is you're talking to. And so I have certain numbers that I program that I'll take the phone call based upon my interaction with them and what's going on at the time. But I don't ever answer my phone. Ever. Because you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what their intentions are. You have no idea anything about them. And so your communication must be really specific, direct, and strategic, or else you could be talking to demons trying to destroy you. Take your money, your children, anything they can get their hands on. That's why I don't answer my phone. You don't know what kind of demon you're talking to. Even private messages, you don't know who you're talking to. Which is why you must reinforce your immune system, or else demons will hack into your immune system and take over. And they are for many people. Which is also why I don't ask my Facebook anything. Because what are you conjuring up when you ask Facebook questions? People's demons will answer. And you can't tell the difference. So I do my own research, answer my own questions, and be accountable for my own choices. Because I'm not going to be taking advice from demons. I'm not. And so Pandora's box of demons and all the holistic people and gurus and licensed therapists make those demons in you stronger. That's why you see me stay away from those who say they can claim to save you. No, they make your shit worse. But remember, professionals learn how to hypnotize their patients, and people learn how to hypnotize each other into saviorism. The system was right. I have to stay away from the people who are needing someone to save them. I'm so sorry. Which is why people are even tortured more aggressively, because the demons within them were never released. They just became stronger and more formidable. And you can't get involved with other people's demons because they could destroy you or they could blame you for whatever. So that's why I stay away from people who are suffering, because they're looking for someone to remove that demon. And when they don't like how it works, they will blame you. I wish I could save you, but I cannot. You have to save yourself. If you can't, you'll have to bring in a professional, an exorcist called a surgeon or a priest. I hope you survive. It's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse as people keep resisting their own demons and treating them and starving themselves and hanging out in mixed company. See, that's the worst. Is when you think you know everything, you think you have the J world, right? Nah, J world ain't going to fucking save you. And you're mixing out there and you're traveling. You're in enclosed spaces. You're having parties together. How are you going to get ahead of all that fertility? It's eating you out from the inside. And then you have the aging process happen exponentially and even potentially incubating some kind of disease within. So that's why I'm not impressed with those that are in the J world, like, oh, I've helped people with the J juice. No, I'm not impressed with your claims. Because I see you out there. You're out there promoting your lifestyle. Showing everybody how lucky you are that you have a bunch of family and friends. That you have a bunch of people that you hang out with because you're not lonely. You have people. Yeah, you're incubating disease. I'm not jealous of that. The anti-vax world kept making those demons inside them stronger, more formidable with all of their remedies. Demonology, demonologists require licenses in remedies, surgeries, and therapies, and herbal concoctions. Gurus, massage therapies, Reiki, Kundalini, tantric sex people, demonologists playing with your demons, which is why the demons and people in this environment are becoming stronger as people are so desperate to push them out. Civil war within the body and society, starving them demons makes them eat you, breaking down the infrastructure. Which is why I say feed the demons, release them as gently as you can, but the release process is not always gentle. Especially when you have harbored so many of them, the body is so desperate to push out. I hope you survive the release process. I kept saying all food is necessary in this time of forced purging, demon wrangling, rapture. None of you are demons, however, you may house them in your body. And when you do not give yourself enough weight and leverage, they take over until you give yourself reserves to live on while you push them out. We all harbor demons. To what extent are they in control? You know how much pain you are in, how hard it is to keep on the weight or take it off. Too much weight, you must pull out the demon programming. Not enough weight, you must feed the demons so you can arm yourself with the leverage to release them. Okay? That's the thing about weight. It's not starving yourself, because then you're breaking down your own infrastructure and the demons inside become more formidable and more numerous, and they eat you out from the inside, and then turns into cancer, and then you don't survive. So yeah, this information is for those who are not totally overridden by the demons. And obviously you can't save your kids. They have to survive their demons, and they have to take on not only the immunity, which is the weight and all the food and also the release process, but they have to have life experience to understand what they're up against. And they don't have that life experience. Even you couldn't tell them. Because remember, they're run by their demons, by their hormones, and they're influenced by their peers. And so you, as an adult, a discerning adult with weight on you, that has the capacity to switch back and forth between your demon and you have a chance to redirect. It's the skinny people. I have questions. I hope they can gain the weight. I hope they can gain the leverage, the substance, the reserves, so they can save themselves. And gaining the substance and the infection, it's painful. Some may not survive it. I can't promise you, because you understand this information at an intellectual level, that you're biophysically capable of doing it. I can't promise you that you'll survive it. Just have a good life. Just have a good life and enjoy whatever it is. And I hope that your life is good. I do. All right, bye.